My name is Bastian Gerner. I work for more than 20 years in the pro audio industry. I started out in the music business, then changed into the post-production film world, and now I'm working in the AAA games industry for 4 years now as a senior Foley artist. And I'm also a sound engineer and a sound designer. The empty room you just saw is the room I'm sitting in right now, and I'm taking you on the journey from empty room to my studio. So let's go. So as a Foley artist, I worked on many films. You can see that on my IMDb, mostly German TV and cinema productions. And lately, as my game credits go, I worked on Assassin's Creed VR, and also on the Settlers, New Allies, and Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, and Anno 1800. To be able to work in a professional room, that is something I want to have at hand all the time. So, because I'm also into music myself, and there are so many things I like to do. I like to do stuff for my friends, or if I have some side project I want to work on. It was always possible all those years. And that's also like how the industry works. You make connections, you work for people, you do something for someone, and then things come back to you. And I wanted to continue working like that, but it wasn't possible with the Ubisoft facilities. So I needed something for my own to be able to work on the things I want to work. So when we moved into the house here in Düsseldorf, it was very clear for me in the very beginning that this could be a potential home studio for me. When I decided to build the room, for me it was clear a couple of people I want to involve. First off, Markus Bertram for the acoustic design, then Heiner Niemann for the technical planning, and also my friend Bernhard Russo for the light design. And then we involved also David Ziegler from Dolby, because we wanted to make sure that he is okay with all our planning, so that we hit the spec once the studio is there.
My name is Markus Bertram. I'm an acoustic engineer and a musician, and I'm the founder of mbakustik. mbakustik is a mixture of an engineering company and a handcraft company. So we are doing all the standard engineering stuff like measuring, calculating, planning, design. And we also build what we have designed before, and we also mount it on location. Our main business is the design and the building of recording studios. And so we're acoustic professionals. But we also take care about home theaters and other rooms where the acoustic is crucial. We all work together as a team on recording studios, and I think that's what makes us unique. That's what it's all about for us. Yeah.
Wir warten darauf, dass die Doro mit den Akustikmodulen kommt. Und da ist der Applaus für Doro.
I knew Bastian because he is working for a customer of us. And so I was very happy when he called me and said, yeah, he has some plans to build a studio of his own.
Markus and I, we go way back. I worked in studios that he had designed in Berlin, so I knew about his work already as an engineer. So I definitely wanted to work with him. As you can see, we have a lot of TrapCores here for bass absorption for low end. And this stuff will all be around my front speakers. And in the back we have also a lot of equipment that has already been delivered. So all the speakers and my interface and a lot more.
My job is being on location and leading the project. And I love just the feeling, that's what I can say, when I watch a project coming to reality.
So yeah, the first time it felt real was when Markus came here with his subwoofer and his laptop, and we did the modal analysis to getting all the room modes measured.
Und das gibt es jetzt auf den Subwoofer drauf, damit wir mal hören, wie sich das aufschaukelt, oder?
Genau. The first thing we did is what we call the analysis of requirements. That's what you could say in English. Hier verschwinden, wenn du hier in die Mitte gehst, ist er weg. Und wenn du hierher kommst, kommt er halt wieder. Das heißt, er schwingt in dieser Richtung. Oder wenn ich jetzt spreche, wird das aufmoduliert. Das klingt auch total scheiße eigentlich. Genau. Das heißt, das ist die erste Eigenmode in dieser Richtung. Hier können wir ziemlich genau den Wellenknoten ermitteln, da wo wir halt nichts hören, wo es also kein
Wahnsinn. When Markus was here and we were placing the microphone and the subwoofer and he was measuring everything, I could really experience how those low-end waves are affecting the room, and how at a certain position in the room I cannot hear the low end at all, and at a other position in the room it's really loud, and then at the next position in the room it's only half of the loudness, let's say. So these things were interesting.
Bastian explained to me what he's going to do in this room, what kind of usage he's going to have, what his dreams are like. Yeah, there are three usages, three tasks for the studio. One is editing and mixing, if possible, in Dolby Atmos, which is a lot of speakers in a small room. That's not so easy. And it's always good if you go in the middle of the room, so that the distance to each speaker is as big as possible. Number two would be mixing and producing urban music, which has a lot of low frequency energy. And the third usage would be Foley recordings. Bastian is a professional Foley artist, and of course he would like to make Foley recordings, Foley sessions in his own room. For this, we would basically need space in the middle of the room. So it's all about space. Our task as a studio designer was to find the right compromise for each usage, so that everything is possible in this room on a professional level.
Let's do it. So I expected from Markus to come up with a design that fits all my needs. I wanted to have a really dry room for recording my Foley, and I also wanted to have a controlled low end in order that I can really mix music here on a professional level. And these two things come not together very easily, especially because you need a lot of space to get the low end absorption correct. And I need space for my performing sounds and recording them. So there was the big challenge for Markus. And of course, then when the modules came and the building process started in here, it was really exciting for me to see all the pieces come together. Dolby Atmos is out there for more than 10 years, and I'm following the whole development of Dolby Atmos those 10 years, but I was never really able to work with the format, because I switched into the games industry before my company implemented Dolby Atmos in the studios. So this is now my chance to adapt the format and to work in all those different areas I like to work in. So I want to mix in here linear content as a re-recording mixer in Dolby Atmos. I want to be a Dolby Atmos music mixer because I really love music, and I'm a musician myself, I'm a rapper. And to mix music was always something I really enjoyed, I really loved. And to have this new format now, which also gives a space for, like, let's say, new people to enter the game again as an engineer, this is my chance now to take it and to be part of the music industry again as an engineer with Dolby Atmos Music. The normal process when you build a studio is that you have the electricity in first, and then all the acoustic modules get installed, and after that you can come in with your gear and make all the final installments. But in my case, the acoustic treatment was installed first, and after that we could build in the electricity. So yeah, when they came with all the modules, Sebastian also joined. He's a professional craftsman working all over the world, and he basically mounted all the elements on the walls and did all the handiwork in this room. It took him 4 days to assemble everything. And yeah, this rather happened very quickly after we finished the planning. You have all the acoustic treatment already mounted on the wall, and then electricians come in and drill holes all over again, and you know, there's a lot of dirt, so you don't want to get your nice acoustic treatment material dirty again. So that was one thing, and also some cabling issues on the ceiling, and so it was not really clear like if everything works out fine, but Markus already planned that in his design.
To assemble these sheets on the top, we used magnets because maybe the electrician have to put some wires more, so everybody can take this down and put it up again, so it's very easy. And I think it's a new technique that we use for assemble these parts with magnets. Yeah.
An issue here with the room is that my electricity is not sufficient, and I have to bring in more phases to get like the proper amount of electricity, and so that's very handy to have those magnets, because then I can easily get the cables on over the top here on the ceiling, and then put it back on.
You can do everything afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
Acoustic design, by the way, is not the choosing the right color of the fabric or something. Acoustic design is technically designing the way the room should sound and what we have to do, what module, what bass trap, what absorber, what diffuser we have to place. If you talk about Foley artist, you need as much space in the back of the room as possible. If we talk about Dolby Atmos, you have to have a mixing position which is right in the middle of the room. If we talk about urban music production, we have to make sure that we have enough bass traps in the room, these kind of guys, to dampen the own modes, so that we have a tight, massive but tight and dry and clean bass signal. The fundamental basis of the acoustic design is the modal analysis we did before. So we knew pretty well how the room is reacting and is behaving. And then we can use this computer program, which is quite sophisticated, to identify problems and to develop solutions that help us to absorb all the low frequencies as good as necessary without spending too much space. That's what we did then.
Here in the back, we have those 4 huge TrapCores.
Yeah.
And our initial thinking was we use just 2 of them.
Okay.
And I can have like a lot of space to store my Foley props.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I saw the first design of the room, it was all covered with bass traps. I thought, okay, like now my Foley space is gone, but you know, the sound of the room is more important.
We have standard absorber modules like these light gray modules over here. They're just absorbing everything, every sound that's coming to them. So then next type would be diffuser model, which is not absorbing but distributing the sound into the room. I can demonstrate if you want. I don't know if the sound is good enough, but if I just come close to a diffuser, the sound changes dramatically, and it's a very a bit strange sound because I'm too close to the diffuser. And if I'm going to the absorber module, it changes. It's a totally different sound because everything is absorbed from the module. So these are 2 of the 3 modules that we're using. Not only we are, that's just standard to use them. And the third one are these bass traps. We have a lot of different types of bass traps. This is a module which is called TrapCore. It's the core of a bass trap, basically. So there's no wood construction over here. It's just the functional core of the bass trap. It's the most cost-worthy bass trap that we have, and it's totally custom-made.
There's still a lot of work to do until the room is finished. Not only the electricity and wiring everything, it's also the measurement of the speakers and to make everything sound right. So stay tuned for the next part. Peace. Apart from the acoustic design, there was also a technical studio design, and this was done by Heiner Niemann. Heiner Niemann is a professional studio planner, and he works for a company called Digital Audio Service from Hamburg in Germany. He has experience for more than 40 years, and he built a lot of recording studios in his life. So he placed all the speakers correctly, he defined the positions of all the displays. So Heiner Niemann also did an electricity planning of the whole studio, and he basically defined how many phases we need, how much electricity wattage is being used in the studio. Like a dream coming true that I have the electricians here now and we do all the cabling. Because in my head, it was like the trickiest thing to realize, you know, to get all the electricity on the ceiling and get everything tight and neat and nice. So I'm so happy that these guys are here now and we're doing it. So it's like really the best day for me.
Die Verteilung, Chef.
Ja.
Wo hätten Sie die gerne?
Festverteilung.
Sicherheitsklasse, neue Sicherheitsklasse. Guck mal. Ja, ja, klar, wir müssen die Dinger unterbringen. Hier genauso. Da können wir auch nicht Steckdose setzen. Mehr für die 3 Lampen, habe ich schon drauf geschrieben. Am Lichtschalter Deckel.
Heiner Niemann also suggested to use industrial relays for the different phases to switch on. There's a lever in between, but those phases, they are electronically controlled, and they can really detect the zero crossing of the electricity, even if it's an inductive load from a loudspeaker. So imagine you switch on a loudspeaker, and then it can really detect the zero crossing of the current and then switch on the electricity in exact that moment. And that helps to make your gear live longer. So today, another milestone. My electricity gets finally finished. We had a long road towards this little box here for these industry relays Herr Olgar is now implementing. Shoutouts to Heiner Niemann, who recommended those electronic relays. And it helps to save the gear, because when you switch on the fuse, the relay electronically controls the point in time when the electricity goes in with the Xenos zero wave, let's say. I don't know the English term for that. But yeah, thanks to Herr Olgar for supporting me through the whole process. And I can really recommend his company and all his staff. So shoutouts. Thank you very much, Herr Olgar. Wave into the camera, please. He also suggested to install an AC, because in the summer months, even though we are in the basement here, all the gear, imagine like 12 loudspeakers, all the outboard gear I have, the displays, etc. This stuff produces a lot of heat, so that when I'm here with clients, we can cool down the room. Okay, the colleagues from KKL finished it. Thank you very much.
highly appreciated. The thing is working, cooling already. It's a big piece outside here, and I'm really happy that this is also done. Thank you very much. My machine room is just this basically. So as you can see now, here are the general fuses for all the different phases I have in my room. This is like for the computers, and the other ones, this is for the AC, and then these three are for 3 different types of gear I have in my studio, and I can switch those on with those levers, and those levers control these electronic relays, and they make sure that when I switch on the electricity, it switches on in the zero crossing of the current, let's say, and that is very helpful for the switching power supplies which have an inductive load, so they can live longer, so your gear can live longer. I hope I explained that correctly.
When Sebastian finished his work, basically the whole acoustic treatment of the room was done and the acoustic work was finished. But a lot of things still were missing. For example, a proper lighting in the room. And a friend of mine who was a DOP helped me with the light design. I bought everything from Teltec in Cologne, and it's basically a proper filming light I installed in this room because I also want to create content in here. It's a main usage for me to create tutorials, educational content. I also want to stream in here. So I have 2 professional Sony cameras and professional lighting for that purpose. And yeah, it was also a big step for me to install all those lights. A friend of mine helped me, and we drilled all the holes for the mounts and installed all the lighting together.
A historical moment for me. This is the desk for my studio, so I'm really happy that all pieces come together now. And we had to wait a long time for this desk. It was like custom made in London, and the timing with the electricians was just right. So they finished the day before yesterday, and now the desk is here. I had a bit time to clean everything, and now we can put the desk in the room, and then we can start wiring everything. This is my dad, very good craftsman to help us set up the desk. Zu mir. Ja. Warte. Dann holen wir das rein. The desk, I mean the Avid S1 Dock S1 combination does not really fit into the tray they made. So we have like 3 millimeters, maybe, that it is too small, too narrow to fit it in properly. So I just texted them now, sent them a couple of photos and asked them how should we fix this.
When we realized that the desk is not really sufficient and that the modules don't fit into the desk, I was really disappointed and also a bit sad, to be honest, because this was the final piece that was basically missing so that we could go and build everything up and just start working in here properly. And to have clients in here and that everything looks like I intended. And then all of a sudden, this idea of being ready now was destroyed, because I knew it took 3 months to get the desk here, and to get a new desktop was also something that would take another 3 months, right? At least in my mind. So when we found out that the whole thing doesn't really work, it was a real bummer, and I was really disappointed. But we called them up quickly and found a solution. They delivered us a new desktop, and yeah, after many months later, I then finally could swap them. My goal is to mix Dolby Atmos music content in here, and I want to be on the official list of the Dolby Atmos music studios worldwide. And to get on that list, I have to have Dolby in here to measure the room according to their specs. Dolby sent Roger Baltensperger from Zurich, Switzerland. He's a very talented engineer, very sophisticated guy, very knowledgeable. And he also owns a Dolby Atmos home studio in Zurich. And he's working as a freelancer for Dolby, doing all those room calibration, certification things for Dolby. Basically all the jobs that David Ziegler himself cannot do, he is covering for him.
Cool. Oh. Nice. So first we'll unpack everything, we'll set up the microphones. In total we'll have an array of 6 microphones in different positions, so we get a reading of the whole room, because we're not just in stereo, we're in full 3D now. We have the array of all the 6 microphones to do the whole room justice, and we'll have an averaging for every speaker from all 6 microphones in real time, so we can do the adjustments on the merging system, while on the other system with the microphones we do all the measurements. And we set the speakers in both in terms of delays and also in terms of frequencies, so we get an exact match with all the Dolby Atmos certified studios around the world. We got 2 kinds of microphones here. We got the main microphone, which is an Meysem 7150, and then the rest are the Beyerdynamic MM1s, which is basically the Dolby standard for Atmos studio measurements. And we have individual files for each microphone, so we know exactly what their frequency response is. The software knows it, so we got a perfectly even and flat measurement from them. And we'll have them face upwards because they're omni microphones. They pick up sound from everywhere, but we don't point them forward, so we don't get like distortions from like the sound pressure levels. We put them up and around the sweet spot, as you'll see later. So we have the microphone set up. We just check the calibration again with our measurement device, and now they're all set, so we can go to the actual measurement. So we will send Dolby calibrated pink noise out of the Dolby Atmos renderer, and we'll check in the smart software here that we're hitting our target curve. So this line here is where we want the speakers, and the green line here is where we want the subwoofer to be. And there will be a lot of noise over the next hour or so when I calibrate each speaker individually and try to match frequency and delay. So in the end, all the speakers should sound the same, because Atmos, we don't think in channels anymore, we mix with so-called objects. So when we move an object around in 3D space, we want it to sound the same anywhere. So it shouldn't sound different when it comes from behind you than when it's in front of you. So we match all the speakers so we can have the objects move around and have them sound the same everywhere. And the goal of the object is that we don't think in channels anymore, but we just think about 3D space. So we put a helicopter up there, we put the wind behind us or a door opening, and then no matter where it gets played back, headphones, soundbar, cinema, the studio, the renderer will decide, okay, it will sound the best when I put it on these speakers. So it can be 64 speakers, it can be 5.1 speakers, And that's why we measure them all the same, so that the object sounds the same no matter where it is in the room. Nee, ist gut.
Sie geht aus den Pro Tools raus zum Renderer.
After Roger built up all his microphones, set up his PC and get everything ready, we had a bit of issues with my gear because I work with audio over IP, so that is all connected to an audio network. And the moment we switched on the Dolby Atmos renderer, which I didn't do before, somehow the whole network didn't really function anymore correctly. So we had to figure out what the problem was.
We have Max from Digital Audio Services in a call right now, and he's also on the Mac with TeamViewer, and we're trying to fix the issue so that we can do the measurement properly without dropouts.
Okay, aber das sieht ja erstmal ganz gut aus. Dann macht doch einfach erstmal weiter. Falls irgendwas ist, meldet euch. Erreichbar.
Super, vielen Dank.
Okay, Dankeschön, Max. Danke, ciao.
Yeah, so we searched a long time, and in the end it's one simple setting as always, and we just needed to increase the latency for the merging sound card to catch up, because the renderer was also taking some of the performance. So we had to give the merging a bit more room to breathe, and now it's all green, no more red. So I'm happy, and I think we can start the measurements now.
Juhu! Yeah.
Ich mache mir was in die Ohren, einfach weil ich, also es wird nicht so laut, dass es schädlich ist, aber... We're moving the subwoofer now, so the speakers in the front, we did an initial measurement just to see where we have like our starting point and what we're working with, what we need to correct to get into the Dolby specifications. And with the subwoofer, we saw that there is one specific frequency that is troubling to us, and it's always easier with the subwoofer where we can still move it because it's not tied into a wall or mounted to the ceiling like the other speakers. We're trying to move the sub and see if the problem gets less, because it's always easier to try to correct it this way first. And if nothing else works, we do it in software, but we try to do it first here by physically moving the subwoofer. The subwoofer itself is fine, but of course the subwoofer is only half the equation. The other half is the room. And so-called room modes is basically a certain frequency of sound has the exact length for one wave, like the length of the room or any of the 3 dimensions of the room. So when it gets reflected back from the wall, it cancels itself out. So basically one wave goes up and the other that comes back from the wall of the same frequency goes down, and then we don't hear it anymore. This gives us a big hole at the certain frequencies, and if, for example, a musical note is right there, you don't hear it in the room, even though the subwoofer is playing it back. So by moving it in the room, we try to minimize the effect of this frequency cancellation. The outcome is good so far. We just tried one other position that I suggested, and we can see there's already 5 dBs less of a problem than we had before. So the big gap that we had is now a lot smaller. We'll try 1 or 2 more positions just to make sure if we find an even better one maybe. And once we settled on a position, we will make the last bit of correction with the digital tools that we have.
Aha. Es kann natürlich sein, dass das als... Ach so, nein, das ist das ja auch wieder kurz. Jetzt nochmal hier auf. Nee, macht auch nicht, aber...
As we are finally ready with the studio, and I'm actually operating here and working here on a daily basis, we have now very special guests today. Maurice from Merging, the company I use the audio interface from and the whole audio over IP technology. And Thomas from Digital Audio Service, who are the distributor in Germany. And they are both here together. They are on a German tour, visiting all their clients, and I'm luckily one of them.
So they visited TV stations and universities, classical music studios, and also me.
Emerging Technologies is a Swiss-based company producing and developing software and hardware tools since more than 30 years. And they are used in this very case, for example, to record and to play back audio. So that means that in a gaming situation, for example, when we do Foley, what is called Foley is to do sound effects, for example. So we see just behind me, there are microphones on the floor with objects, is to recreate, stupidly, I don't know, somebody that walks on leaves, for example. You're not going to record outside the person who walks on leaves. You're going to create it with some tools and objects with a microphone. So, and once the microphone is connected, you need a converter to be able to make digital audio and a computer with a software to be able to record that inside the computer and to make a file out of it. And so we provide everything what is in between the microphone and the computer for the recording. And then we provide everything what is in between the computer for the playback and the loudspeaker. Okay? So that you are able to listen to it, to modify it, to mix it, to transform it, and to adapt it to make it finally an audio file that is a tiny little audio file, part of this very big game that somebody plays in his or her living room. So emerging technology is providing, I'm just talking about one aspect, but all these professional tools in between the microphone and the loudspeaker.
I also invited Christoph Safferling, who is the Data and Services Director for Ubisoft Germany. He's also overseeing the audio department within the company. And I wanted to just show him the room and welcome him here in my new kind of space.
I'm just here to watch.
He's here to watch, to see the studio. And because we are also planning to build a studio at Ubisoft using the same technology. So therefore, Ubisoft as a company also has an interest to have this working here in my home studio.
And I gave those three a demo. They really liked it. Thomas Röhrmann also gave me a bit of feedback, how he felt the whole room and the playback of the scene in a very technical way. But yeah, he's an expert, and you can also read that in my Google reviews on the studio. Christoph was happy. Maurice also was convinced that this room is quite something, small but sweet, and yeah. One sweet spot and basically highest quality. So now that everything is ready and I have a proper measured Dolby Atmos edit and mixing suite here, I want to be involved in Dolby Atmos music mixing a lot as an engineer myself, and people who want to do that can also rent the studio and come in here and mix their own music. I can support them technically, but the room is for rent as well. Same goes for re-recording linear content, so I can work here as a mixer and mix other people's documentaries, films, short films, advertisement, TV series, stuff like that. And even a cinema movie could be pre-mixed in here. Also, sound designers who want to work in a Dolby Atmos edit suite can come and rent the suite for an X amount of time and finish a complete edit in here if they want. Also, possible for me is to work in here as a Foley artist, and I can provide Foley for linear media, also TV movies, TV series, content like that I can fully cover in here. These are the things I want to be involved mainly, and if gaming companies want to use this room for their mixes, they can just come here, plug their laptop in or their PC, and we're basically good to go. So my first studio when I was 18 years old, we had a very different acoustic design. It was just egg cartons on the wall, like the classic cliche maybe. We followed that. I went to a farmer and bought like big boxes with just those egg cartons, and then we put them on the wall, painted them a little bit, and that was the recording room of my first studio.